राधे राधे
राधे राधे दीदी जी, राधे राधे।
लाडली लाल की
जय
श्रीमद सद्गुरु सरकार की
जय।
ध्यान मूलम गुरोर्मूर्ति पूजा मूलम गुरोर्पदम मंत्र मूलम गुरोर्वाक्यम भक्ति मूलम गुरोर्कृपा गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुर् गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः. I will be singing a little kirtan for about 2-3 minutes, and after that I will continue with the topic. Let's do Roop Dhyan as we chant. Radhe 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 Shri Radhe 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 रस का चस्का लगा दे श्री राधे रस का चस्का लगा दे श्री राधे राधे श्री राधे राधे श्री राधे 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 श्री राधे 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 श्री राधे मोहि दीन बना दे श्री राधे मेरा अहम मिटा दे श्री राधे 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 श्री राधे 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 श्री राधे. राधा रानी महारानी की जय. श्रीमद सद्गुरु सरकार की जय. So far, I have talked to you about the fact that humans, we were given a human form of life only for one reason, and that is to attain God. We are constantly searching for happiness while realizing, and mostly we don't realize, that we are searching, in fact, for God, and that God is another name for happiness. So the ones who knowingly search for God are very few in number, whereas the rest, the majority, is searching for happiness through the world and not looking for it in God. Then we talked about how to attain God so that we may attain true happiness, unlimited, everlasting happiness. And we came to know that God cannot be known because God is divine, and our senses, our mind, and our intellect, through which we may know anything or anyone, including God, they're all material. And with our material senses, mind, and intellect, we cannot know God, who is beyond materialism, one who is divine. And God is full of mutual contradictions that make it absolutely impossible for us to know him. We became discouraged finding this out, but then again, there was a ray of hope that was awakened within us by the Vedas and Vedic scriptures, and they told us that God can be known not through self-effort, but through his grace. We can know God only through his grace. This is what we have learned from scriptures. But now the question is, how do I attain the grace of God? And there's a doubt that comes into the mind that was identified last time, and that is, why has God not graced me so far? And he has graced so many people, but not me. And is there a condition that God looks for before he graces us? Then why is he called causelessly merciful? Tulsidasi says that Bhagwan Ram is binu hetu sanehi. He is unconditionally merciful. Then is there a condition then that God wants us to fulfill before he gives grace? And if he is truly causelessly, unconditionally merciful, then the question is, why has he not graced me so far? Fair questions. And let's look at the answers given to us by Jagat Guru Uttam Shri Kripaluji Maharaj, our Gurudev. So now God says, you are accusing me of being a businessman who is selling his grace at the right price. You have a doubt that I'm not causelessly merciful. Let's find out. Let me tell you, says God, what I want you to do before I grace you. So we ask, what is that? What do I need to do before you grace me? And the Vedas, which are the voice of God, the Vedas say, Todasyeva Sharana Amahasya. Surrender to God. God looks for us to surrender ourselves before he graces us. Todasyeva Sharana Amahasya. Te tva mada madayantu shushminam tu viradhasam jaritre eko devatra dayase. All these mantras from the Vedas are saying the same thing, and that is that once you surrender to God, you will receive the grace of God. That's the only thing we need to do. We need to surrender to God. In the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says to Arjun, Arjun, Ananyashchintayanto mam ye janah paryupasate tesham nityabhiyuktanam yogakshemam vahamyaham. The Bhagavad Gita is such a popular scripture. It's a relatively short scripture containing only 700 verses in 18 chapters. It has been translated into many, many languages of the world because it carries a universal message. So in the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says to Arjun, Arjun, the one who surrenders wholeheartedly to me and exclusively to me, to him I give my full protection. Yogakshemam vahamyaham. I give him what he's lacking, and I take care of what he already has in his possession. Both material things as well as spiritual property. Once again, I give him what he's lacking, and I protect what he already has in his possession. Complete protection is given to the one who surrenders to me, says Sri Krishna in Bhagavad Gita. And there's a very nice example of this that I'd like to share with you, a true story of a scholar. His name was Jagannath Mishra. And he was reading the Gita one day when he came upon this very verse in the 9th chapter of the Gita. Ananyashchintayanto mam ye janah paryupasate tesham nityabhiyuktanam yogakshemam vahamyaham. I take full responsibility of the one who surrenders to me. And the scholar thought, how is it possible? And why would the Supreme Lord of countless universes go personally to help the devotee? I'm sure he makes arrangements through someone else, but he can't be giving his personal attention to everyone who surrenders to him. So there was a doubt in his mind, and he did the unthinkable. He took a red pen and crossed out the word Vahamyaham and he replaced it with dadamyaham, changing the meaning. Now, this scholar was Jagannath Mishra. He was a married man, so he and his wife were living together, and he was very poor. This particular morning, he had gotten up very early in the morning, as he always did, and after making this so-called correction in the Gita, he went off to take a dip in the holy waters of the river, in the Ganga. In the meantime, his wife was thinking, what are we going to eat? There is nothing to eat at home. What will I cook? And then she thought, perhaps my husband will bring something back with him. Perhaps he'll go begging in the village. Well, as she was thinking these thoughts, there was a knock at the door. And when she opened the door, and I have a feeling I've shared this story with you, but anyway, I love this story so much. And even if you've heard it before many times, I've told it many times, I think it's a lovely story that carries a very, very powerful message for all of us. When the scholar's wife opened the door, there was a little boy standing there with a very heavy sack balancing on his head. And the little boy could hardly carry this much weight. So she took the sack and put it on the ground. And then she saw that this boy had bruises all over his face. And she asked him, son, who are you? And he said, I am your husband's student. I'm one of his students. Oh, I see. And what have you brought over here? Your husband has sent some grains and pulses, rice, flour. Oh, so she starts thinking, he has made arrangements. She was relieved to hear this, that there will be food for them today and for many days to come. But then she said, she was very concerned, and she said, Beta, son, you have all these bruises on your face. Who did this to you? And he said, your husband did this to me. And the woman was shocked because her husband, she knew him to be a very gentle soul. How could he have beaten this little boy? For what reason, she asked. And the boy said nothing and just quietly left. The scholar's wife was seething with anger, and she was just waiting for her husband to come back. When he did come back, she said, why did you beat that boy? What did he do? The scholar had no idea about this boy, and he asked, who are you talking about? The boy with whom you sent all this food stuff, all these groceries. I didn't send any food stuff. And she said, but you did. He said that he's one of your students and you had beaten him. And the scholar thought his wife was going mad. And she thought, he's going mad. He doesn't remember sending his student. When all this was going on, finally, the scholar, with God's grace, started to understand everything that had unfolded. He understood that Sri Krishna himself had come to his door, carrying the food, because he knew that these devotees had nothing to eat. And then he understood also why Sri Krishna, in the form of a little boy, had bruises all over his face. And that is because he had hurt Sri Krishna by doing the unthinkable, by finding fault in his words. So the scholar started to cry uncontrollably, begging Sri Krishna for forgiveness. He understood now that Bhagwan, the Supreme Lord, does come to the rescue of someone who is completely surrendered to him, that he helps in every way possible. Shri Krishna says, I give the devotee what he lacks. In this case, what he was lacking, the devotee was lacking, was food stuff. There was nothing to eat at home. So Shri Krishna brought him and his wife food to eat. So I give full protection, says Shri Krishna, to the one who surrenders to me. I give him what he's lacking, and I protect what he has already in his possession. This is called Yogakshem Vahan Karna. So Shri Krishna says, I look for self-surrender. Surrender to me and I will grace you. But then we think, what is surrender? Again, a fair question. We hear so much about grace and surrender. We've understood what grace means. It means that when God graces someone, then he converts his material senses, mind, and intellect into divine senses, divine mind, and divine intellect. And now this individual who is graced by God sees God everywhere. But now, what do I have to do to get that grace? I need to surrender. What does surrender mean? To understand what surrender means, we need to go once again into the Gita. And when we read the Gita, we read about Lord Krishna and Arjun. They're both in the battlefield of Kurukshetra. And Sri Krishna is a charioteer, and Arjun is sitting on the chariot. And Arjun is saying to Sri Krishna, my Lord, I'm not going to be able to fight this battle. I can't even hold on to my bow. How can I fight the battle if I can't even hold on to my bow? Gandivam sransate hastatvakchaiva paridahyate nacha shaknome vasthatum brahmativa cha me manah. My bow, Gandiv, is slipping from my hands. My skin is burning and my mind is reeling with confusion. I cannot even stand steady on my feet. And after saying this, Arjun went to the back seat of the chariot. He sat on the back seat. And that meant that I'm not going to fight this battle. I don't understand why I should fight this battle. And at the same time, Arjun did something wonderful. He said to Sri Krishna, he said, I am confused and I need answers. And Shishyasteham Shadhimam Tvam Prapannam. I am your fully surrendered disciple. Please tell me what to do. So Lord Krishna said, Arjun, you fight the battle, but think of me all the time, at all times. Fight the battle. That is your duty as a warrior, as a kshatriya. And this is a battle that could not be avoided. I tried my best, but Duryodhana is not listening, so you have to fight this battle. You're a kshatriya. That is your duty as a warrior. But at the same time, only be thinking of me as you fight. Keep your mind surrendered to me. Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu mamanusmara yudhya. Arjun performed this yuddha, fight this battle, but mamanusmara, think of me, sarveshu kaleshu, all the time. Because if you are not thinking of me, then this action of fighting the battle, it is motivated by anger or by greed or by some material, for some reason. And that action will be a good action or a bad action. And every action has a consequence. Every action has a reaction. So you'll be further binding yourself with fruits of your actions. But surrender the mind to me. Give me your mind and fight the battle at the same time. And this is what Arjun did. He just thought about Sri Krishna all the time, and he was just shooting arrows at the enemy, protecting himself, shielding himself from the onslaught, and shooting arrows at the enemy, at the Kauravas. And he did this for 18 days, for all the days of the Mahabharata battle. And so Lord Krishna said at the end, Arjun did not kill anyone. His mind was focused only on me. So surrendering to God means, it's actually another way of saying doing nothing. I'm not doing anything. I'm not performing a virtuous actions. I'm not performing a sinful action. I'm doing nothing. So Arjun was surrendered. His mind was with Sri Krishna. It's our mind that performs all our actions, isn't it? So if the mind is with God and we are just doing our duty physically, then it means that we are giving our mind to God and we are performing our worldly duty physically. We are surrendering to God. So to surrender means to do nothing, just as one nation surrenders to another. They put up the white flag, they throw down their weapons, and they put up their hands and say, I surrender, we surrender. Meaning, I'm at your mercy. Don't shoot at me. I'm at your mercy. And so then the nation, the army that surrenders to the other army, they're taken into their protection. They're fed. They are taken care of because they have surrendered. A little child, a newborn child, is surrendered to its mother. The child does nothing. The mother does everything for the child. When that child grows up and it starts doing work for itself, then the mother's grace also becomes reduced. She doesn't do everything for the child. But when the child is a full-grown adult and does everything for himself, the mother also now doesn't do anything for him, because now he's perfectly capable of doing everything for himself. But when this adult who was once a newborn, that newborn child did not do anything for itself, and the mother did everything. So Bhagwan says, just surrender to me. Give your mind to me. To surrender means to give our mind to God. And when we surrender our mind to him, he gives the ultimate grace to us. So when we heard Shri Krishna saying, well, surrender to me, then I'll give you my grace. And when we were thinking, why hasn't God graced me? Is he selling his grace at the right price? Is he giving his grace to the highest bidder? What do I have to do? And if I have to do something to attain his grace, that means that he's not causelessly merciful. But as it turns out, he really is causelessly merciful. What Lord Krishna is saying is, all you have to do to attain my grace, my ultimate grace, beyond which there is nothing, all you have to do to get my grace is to do nothing. Just surrender to me. That's it. We read these words, we read this word surrender, and oftentimes we surrender, but only verbally. We say to God, Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama. Shri Krishna Arpanamastu. I surrender to Shri Krishna. And we think we have surrendered to him because I'm saying to him, I am surrendering to you. But those are just words. Or we surrender ceremoniously. There are many ceremonies, many rituals we perform. You could take some water in your right hand, take some of it, and then raise your left arm and recite a mantra and take the water and let it go like this and say, oh my Lord, I surrender to you. And may all my sins, may you forgive all my sins. And we think I'm surrendering to God because I'm performing this very fancy ritual, speaking fancy words. But as the Bible says, the kingdom of God is not in words. God does not care for the words we speak. What we speak with our tongue makes no difference to God. People of the world become very impressed with our words, but God only looks at the heart. So God says, I don't mean that you need to surrender. Does not mean ceremonial surrender. It does not mean verbal surrender. Surrender means mental surrender. Surrender your mind. Give your mind to me. Mayeva mana adhatsva, may buddhim niveshaya. Bhagavad Gita. Arjun, give me your mind and your intellect. Surrender them to me. So now we understand that to attain his ultimate grace, we need to surrender. And we also understand the answer to the question, why haven't I been graced so far? Why haven't I yet attained his ultimate grace? We've been graced in so many ways, in countless ways by God, but that ultimate grace with which you can get to know God and you see God all the time after that, God realization. Why have I not attained that ultimate grace? Because I have not surrendered to God. That's why. Now, Lord Krishna says in the Gita, there are some individuals, there are 4 types of individuals who fail to surrender to him. First of all, Shri Krishna says that first of all, there is the individual who does not know anything about him. Shri Krishna said there are those who have no concern with me. This individual has never heard anything about God. He does not want to find out anything about God. Why would he then surrender to God? Secondly, he said there are individuals who are called Naradham. These are the individuals who do know something about God. They know about the importance of God, but they are too lazy and too careless to surrender to me, says Sri Krishna. So this individual knows what to do. He even has a guru telling him what to do, but he doesn't do it because he's lazy, he's careless. He's like a person who is hungry, starving, he's famished, and he says, I'm going to die of hunger. And yet there's a feast laid out in front of him, and he's free to eat whatever he wants. But he says, oh, it's too much trouble. I have to reach over to the table and pick up the food with my hand and then bring it all the way to my mouth and put it in my mouth. And then I have to chew that food. Oh, it's too much. Forget it. He's starving, but he does not want to make any effort to eat. Sri Krishna says that this kind of individual will not surrender to him. Thirdly, there's the individual who has so many doubts. He does not have any faith in God, and he has only doubts. He will read the Ramayana, or he'll hear someone else recite the Ramayana. He'll say, why did Bhagwan Ram renounce Sita? That wasn't right. Why did Bhagwan Ram kill Bali from hiding behind the tree? That was not fair. This was not what God's supposed to do. Why does Lord Krishna, why did he have so many gopis with him? That's not right. Why did he perform the Maharas with gopis who were already married women? Why did he play the flute? Why did they go to him in the middle of the night in Vrindavan? He has one doubt after the other. And Sanshayatma Vinashyati. Shri Krishna says in the Gita, the one who has doubts will surely fall from the path. He will not succeed on the spiritual path. He'll fall down. Not possibly, but surely, he will surely fall from the spiritual path. And fourthly, lastly, Sri Krishna says, there is the individual who will not surrender to me. He is the kind of person who not only does not have any faith in God, but he will dissuade others from following the spiritual path also. You are comfortably practicing devotion and you're doing well in that, and somebody comes along and says, this is just nonsense. This is not the right age in which to do this. You've got so many responsibilities. You cannot be practicing devotion. And, Sri Krishna was not really God. He was only a trickster. He was a yogi, this and that. He will try to create doubts in your mind. And these are the 4 kinds of individuals, says Sri Krishna, who will fail to surrender to him. Now, we have not surrendered to him. It means that we belong to one of the 4 categories. And if we look at these 4 categories, I think we will agree. We agree that the second category defines us. That we do know what to do. We do know how to surrender. We know how to give our mind to God. Having a guru in life, having Jagat Guru Tam himself in life means that we have learned so much. I know how to do this. I know how to practice devotion. I know how to surrender to God. I know how to give him my mind. I know how to do Rup Dhyan. But yet I don't do it because I procrastinate. I think there's a lot of time left and I will do it some other time. So this is the category called Naradham, the ones who know, who have a lot of knowledge at their disposal, but they are too lazy and too careless. So when it comes to surrender, we should have a clear definition of surrender. Surrendering means giving God our mind. Doing our duty in the world with just the body, but reserving the love of our heart, reserving our mind for God only. This is what the gopis did. When we hear that someone was very surrendered, the gopis were the most surrendered, and even Brahma even Brahma desires the dust of their feet. And then we think, well, the gopis are probably not doing anything. They're just doing devotion to Shri Krishna. Just give him there's a surrender to him. But they are taking care of so many chores, household chores. Yadohane vahanane mathano pale papreng khanar bharudito ksanamarjanado gayanti chaina manurakta dhiyo shrukantyo dhanya brajastriya urukrama chittayana. In the Bhagavad, Bhagwan Vedavyas says, blessed are the gopis, blessed are the milk maidens of Braj, who think about Shri Krishna continuously while they perform various chores, household chores. So whether the gopi is milking the cow or fetching water from the Yamuna River for daily consumption, whether she is cleaning the house or feeding her children, whether she's cooking or cleaning, whatever she's doing, she is only thinking about Shri Krishna. Physically doing the duty and mentally thinking of God. This is the theory of philosophy of Karma Yoga. Shri Krishna says, give me your mind, surrender to me, and I shall grace you in every possible way. Once again, the beautiful words of Shri Krishna in the Gita. Ananyaschintayanto mam ye janah paryupasate tesham nityabhiyuktanam yogakshemam vahamyaham. He who surrenders to me wholeheartedly, to him I give my full protection. I give him what he's lacking in the way of the world and in the way of spiritual property. And I give him protection of all that he has already in his possession. That is complete protection. Yogakshem Vahan Karna. So having understood that surrendering to God does not mean that we just speak fancy words before God. It does not mean that we perform rituals and ceremonies before God. It means that we give God our mind. Now, the next question that we'll tackle next time is, how do I learn to do that? How do I do this? Because we're in a progressive series of lectures. These are progressive series of talks. So the next thing to understand will be how to surrender to God. बोलिए लाडली लाल की जय। श्रीमद सदगुरु सरकार की जय। And now, everyone, we have a Q&A session. So would you kindly unmute yourself and put up your hand, and our very capable Vikas Singh is here to coordinate this.
Yeah. So please raise your hand. I think last time Anjan Bhai had a question, but we couldn't take. So Anjan Bhai, maybe you can start.
Radha Bhaiya, Radha Didi. I think I forgot the question.
That's okay.
If I remember, I'll ask Didi. Others can do.
So Nidhi,
Radhe Radhe, Didi.
Radhe Radhe.
What I wanted to ask, the earlier kirtan that you did and the two lines that you mentioned there,
Yes.
one was aham
Raska.
mita de.
Deen bana de.
Are those two the main, at the sadhak level, the main problems that we encounter?
Absolutely, yes.
Mhm.
Maharaj ji would say Deenta, Sahanshilta, humility, tolerance. So Mohi Deen bana de, make me humble, or Radharani. Mera aham mita de, destroy my ego, or Radharani. Yes. Yes, indeed. So humility is so important for a sadhak, for us sadhaks. And so Sri Maharaj Ji has talked about it a lot. And in this kirtan, which has many verses, my favorites are Mohideen Banade, Mera Aham Mitade. Make me humble and destroy my ego, my pride, yes.
So I was just wondering, in practical terms, obviously I mean, in words it's fine, but in practical terms, should we really handle this, especially the aham side?
Yes, by keeping in mind always that how small we are in the big scheme of things. And it's very easy to have this feeling of aham, I am the doer. I succeeded. I did this. And yet we must remember, by remembering really that that God is the one who is enabling us to do whatever we are doing, and he's giving us the good sense of, if we're doing anything right, the credit belongs to him, because he gives us the intelligence to do this, and he's inspiring me to do the right thing. And so it's very important that, yes, I'm doing this good thing, I have succeeded, but with his grace, with him enabling me to do this, and he is inspiring me to do this. So I'm succeeding because of that, and I must give credit where it's due. So that humility comes in, and the ego goes away.
Thank you.
Radha Didi, I remember what I wanted to ask.
Sure.
I had some financial hardships in the past. But I keep remembering the Tattva Gyan that we received from Maharaj, that we should have that in Niskam Bhav always, whatever situation it comes maybe. So I never asked anything to Maharaj or Lord Krishna, Radharani, but a month ago or something, when I was going to attend the interview, so it came to my mind saying, hey, Maharaj, I'm going for the interview, so you take over. Like that. So later I cracked that interview, got the job, but later I felt guilty, thinking, did I ask something to Maharaji, material thing, or so is it something wrong, or?
No, it's okay. You don't be so tough on yourself. It's just that, first of all, congratulations on getting a job. I know that you didn't have a job for a while. So congratulations, Badayo. Other than that, no, it's okay that you're just trying to remember Sri Maharaji at that time and for that time. Because when you think about God and Guru, your nervousness goes away and you're able to focus. So there's nothing wrong in that. That's okay.
Okay, thank you, Didi. That's it.
As long as, when you didn't have a job, you were still thanking Maharaji and Radha and Krishna. It's fine. Yes.
Thank you.
Labh may be, Hani may be Radhe Radhe, Labh may be Radhe Radhe.
Yes.
Yes. Whether we are gaining or losing, it's all the grace of God and Guru.
Radhe Radhe Didi.
Radhe Radhe.
When we start trying to put into practice the philosophy, and we start feeling less attachment, or our happiness depends less on our family, how do we deal with their reaction to you being less attached?
Your family, Sharda, a family doesn't need to know that you are less attached. There's nothing outwardly to let them know, because people do react negatively to that. Like, if I remember a gentleman, a young man, he called his parents all the way from the US to India, and he said, "I'm becoming detached from you," and they started crying and wailing. And my question to him was, why did you have to declare that? And so it's not something anyone needs to find out. You keep on doing what you're doing in your life, and then the detachment is internal, and so they don't have to find out. And it doesn't harm anyone in your family or anyone in any way. It's that you are doing things differently. You're doing the same things for them as you were doing earlier. You're taking care of your family, so they're not lacking in any way, and they would not know that you are detached or attached to them. Otherwise, the word detachment it's a very scary one. You're detached from me, and yet everyone in your family, everyone in everyone's family just wants, everyone in the world wants you to do your duty towards them, and they don't really care whether or not you're detached. But once you say it, if you say, "I'm detached from you," that is very devastating for them. Yes.
No, it's not. I know I don't see it, because then that doesn't make sense. But like, you spend more hours doing sadhana than you would like looking at a movie with the family, like things like that, little changes like that. They might feel like, you're spending less time with us recreationally.
Right. That's true. Yes, of course you meant that. When that happens, yes, it's a little bit of a tug and pull. It is, because your interests have changed. You developed a higher taste, and you don't have the same tastes anymore, and that's what that's what makes it a little bit more difficult. Why sometimes you have to be involved in what their activities. And then it's nice that if they can be involved in your activities also. Yes. But being married, having children does make it a little bit more challenging. I mean, as someone who's single doesn't have that problem, because they're just free to do what they want. But of course, hats off to the married people living with families, because you have much more of a challenge. Yes. But I remember there was many years ago, there was a devotee, and she was the wife of her husband was a very very successful cardiologist, and as such he had to go to many conferences around the world. They went to Egypt and the Caribbean, this and that, and she said, "Didi, mere ko nahi jana hai." I don't want to go. And I said, sometimes you have to go. You're married, so you have to go. And sometimes you can say no, make some excuse. And when she went to Mangar and asked Maharaji the same question, Maharaji said, sometimes you have to go. You're a married woman. And because I was telling her exactly what Maharaji would say, having learned from Maharaji, that, you have this to create peace in the family. Sometimes you have to do what they're doing. And you invite them also to what you're doing. And in that way, try to create some balance.
Thank you.
Best of luck. Best of luck.
I have a question.
Yes.
So, Didi, I'll give you an example, like real life example. So, almost every weekend, I should say almost every weekend, we'll go somewhere, somebody's house to meet them, spend 3-4 hours in the evening, like a party kind of things. That's like to keep family. Don't eat, but we'll go anyway. But when my time comes, like I'm planning to go to Denver because Niklanand Bhaiya is coming and I want to spend 3 nights or 4 nights. Now I'm struggling. Should I stay there for 3 nights or 4 nights? What my wife will think? Should I come back early? I mean, this dilemma happens all the time to me. What do you suggest?
You mean whether you should stay 3 nights or 4 nights?
Yeah, I feel guilty that I'm leaving my wife alone at home for so long. And here you go, every weekend I'll go to her favorite place because I want to keep peace in the family.
Right.
So I don't know, I'm struggling every time I make a plan.
Right. I don't think there should be any, you're not shirking away from your responsibilities as a husband and a father. And, there are times when, your wife will go away sometimes to, maybe her family, her side of the family. And sometimes you'll go and you're right that you're going with her, with your wife to various activities, the parties and so on, get-togethers in the evenings. So you should not feel guilty about going on a retreat or going to some spiritual activity. It's only for 4 days. You're not going forever. It's only for 4 days.
Just to add up, as you said that अपने मन में रखो कि क्या सोचते हो भगवान के बारे में. So whenever I go to all these parties, even though externally I don't enjoy, but I mean, I'm there physically, but my mind is somewhere else. And I'm telling Radharani that, excuse me, I don't want to be here, but I'm thinking about you. That's what I do all the time.
And that's good because wherever we go, group dhyan can be done anywhere. So you're in a get together and you may not want to be there, but you're there because you need to be there. You have to be there to keep the peace in the family. Understandable. But then you think about Radha and Krishna, that's perfect. That's good. Absolutely.
Thank you.
But at the same time, you should not feel guilty about going to 3 or 4 days of retreat. As you mature as couples, then you realize that, okay, we have 2 very different likes and 2 different ways, our choices are very different from each other. And so then the maturity is there to say, okay, sometimes you do what you need to do and I'll do what I need to do.
Okay, thank you so much.
Things together, yes. Most welcome.
I have a question, Didi. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe.
So, is it okay? I think I heard in Maharajji's lecture. So you can even change the form if sometimes you're like feeding God or like loving Krishna and Radhe in form of like son and daughter, like little. And if sometimes I'm listening to like, some nice Bollywood songs and I'm in my own zone and I'm thinking of him as a lover, like, is that okay to change the form? Like, it just naturally, like, since you have told me, thank you so much. I think that idea was really good that wherever the mind goes, you bring Krishna. And that's when I do. So, like, as a human being, right, I'm not as evolved. So I have all different kind of emotions. And I'm like, I'm like, sometimes I'm listening to Bollywood music, right? I'm running on the treadmill and it just, Krishna comes to my mind even when I'm listening to that. So I was like, is this right? I was worshiping him as a kid and now I'm worshiping him as a lover. So
yes, Purnima, it's absolutely fine because you need to relate to Sri Krishna in many different ways. So he's your child, best friend, your beloved, everything. So it's absolutely fine.
okay,
Good.
thank you.
Most welcome.
Dinesh bhai, you have a question? You are on, please unmute.
Me? Okay.
No, Minesh.
Dinesh bhai?
Yeah.
Radhe, Radhe.
Radhe.
Devi. Thank you for your talks. Very enjoyable and inspiring. I had a question about the humility and ego. Sometimes in the work situation or corporate world, it is seen as a sign of weakness. No, Devi?
Yes, to being humble and meek and humble and
Yes, yes.
true. And that's why there's a wonderful concept of of not showing that externally. The humility you must feel is on the inside, and there are times when you cannot show it because it's not appropriate. And so even when you are not showing it, even when you are, let's say you have to speak sternly to someone at your workplace, but you should not feel anything on the inside. You should be humble on the inside and show a different form outside. Because sometimes, you know, the world will chew you up alive if you show your humility all the time. There are times when you just cannot show your humility and your meekness. But the trick is to feel that on the inside and saying, I am just doing my duty. I need to be stern at this time. I need to even yell at this person at this time. But you know, inside, no, nothing like that. When we do the opposite, we are just controlling our anger and just being very, very humble on the outside. Inside, we feel like killing that person. That's the complete opposite of how we should be doing it. So yes, you cannot show your humility all the time to the world.
Thank you.
Most welcome.
Didi, can I ask another question?
Yes, Sharda.
Like I have some weeks where my sadhana is really good and I'm doing what I'm supposed to do and I'm really strong. And then some weeks where I get more involved in work and my duties and the kids and I don't do as much sadhana and I feel so bad and so guilty. And then like I have to get back on the bandwagon, you know? So is that normal or should I be progressing in an upward direction all times?
Sometimes you're doing a lot of sadhana and sometimes you're more involved in work and so on. Is that because there are sometimes when you're busier at work and sometimes you're not so busy?
Yes, and also when there's sadhana program in India, I tend to be more focused as opposed to when they don't have sadhana programs.
Right, and those sadhana programs go on practically all throughout the year, so it's a good thing. Yes, yes, no, you know, there should be consistency. There has to be consistency, and of course there'll be satsangs. There'll be there'll be more opportunities for you to do satsang. Let's say if one of the pracharaks are there in Trinidad, you have more opportunities to do satsang. And then if there's, you know, something going on online, you do. But at the same time, every day there should be sadhana. Every day there should be time spent on taking care of your doing Rup Dhyan and practicing that. So every single day. But there are times when you'll have more opportunities. Maybe there are times when you are busier in your life. But consistency is important. Like, this is what I'm going to do every single day. And then there's some days when I'm doing even more than that because I have more opportunities. That consistency, like every day, daily devotion is very important.
Thank you.
Okay.
Radhe,
Julie?
Radhe, Didi.
Radhe, Julie.
Didi, why is grace sometimes so painful?
Why is?
grace sometimes painful. You know
Can
what?
you explain? How's that?
Realization of situations, people, realization of situations and people who we are surrounded by, you know, on a day-to-day basis, being able to see maybe the dense heaviness in their characters and how these people take advantage of situations, mainly myself, and being able to maintain, to be able to see Krishna in those people. Sometimes it's very, very difficult.
Very challenging.
Find it very challenging at the moment, especially. It's almost like a veil's been removed from in front of my eyes, and seeing a reality. Or is it reality? Is it my reality? Is it their reality? Does this reality not exist? It doesn't make any sense. I find it really difficult putting it into words. I feel things more than I can.
And I think I understand. I'm not sure, but you're saying that it's very challenging at times to experience that grace, and
yes,
the situations make it very, very difficult. People, their actions, maybe their words, their behavior makes it very difficult to experience the grace. At that time, Julie, what you must think is Lord Krishna is deliberately putting this test before me, and I've got to pass this test, and always to keep a smile on your face, and never to become discouraged or despondent. And say that he wants me to improve. Shri Krishna and Maharaji, they want me to improve, so they're testing me, because if I'm not tested, I cannot get to the next level. And so God, who is in this person, Shri Krishna within this individual, is testing me through this individual. Through this situation, God and Guru are testing me. And just always keep a smile on your face. And you know this, and the situation changes also after some time. This too shall pass, right? Powerful mantra. This too shall pass. Everything becomes okay again. But unless we're tested, we cannot move forward. That's how it is. Yes. So, and he will test you only because he wants you to move ahead. So that's a wonderful thing, that you want me to move ahead. You want me to make progress. So you are testing me.
Thank you.
Most welcome. Any more questions? Oh, it's 4 o'clock, but if there's any more questions, you can take one up. Chitra.
Radhe, Radhe, Didi. Thank you so much, Didi. Actually, I just wanted to say that all the questions that different people are asking, they go through your mind's different stages in your life. So it's so nice to hear the different ways you can deal with those situations, because they're so common. And in a way, it's a little bit comforting also to think you're not alone in this situation. So, it's not just the Prem Ras Siddhant that I'm loving, but the questions and answers are also so helpful just with the day-to-day. So thank you so much.
Most welcome, everyone. And I have to apologize that I could not do this yesterday because of something going on I could not get out of. And then also, I will speak with Vikas, and we'll figure out the next time, because the next time when I do this in 2 weeks, I'll be in India. And for you in the UK, it's 9 o'clock right now in the evening. And then for me in India, it will be 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning over there. So we'll have to figure out when, perhaps even next week, we can have a next one, because after that, I'll be going to India for 2 weeks. But Vikas will let everyone know when the next session is. And it's always a pleasure to see all of you. please do invite your friends and as many as possible to these sessions so that I can share with more people, the wonderful teachings of Sri Maharaji. Radhe Radhe, everyone.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe, Radhe.
Srimad
Radhe
Sadguru
Radhe.
Sarkar ki
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe. Radhe.